Troubleshooting Windows, troubleshooting tools. We've looked at now boot utilities and some boot errors that occur and how to fix them. Specifically, we focused on boot errors on the A+ exam. Let's look at some of the troubleshooting tools that are built into Windows that you're going to use frequently. Some of these we've already seen, some of these we haven't seen yet, and I just want to cover these all real quickly. So, we're going to look at the Windows 7 troubleshooting tool, specific only to Windows 7, not Windows Vista or XP, that does a lot of troubleshooting steps for you. And it's geared towards the average user, but can solve a lot of problems that even the most advanced user might have. Then we'll look at the Device Manager again, which gives you information about devices in your computer and offers you some options when it comes to them. The Event Viewer, which logs all the events going on your system and is the first place you can visit to figure out if there are any errors or problems that specifically are occurring that you can then fix. We'll look at, within those, the different types of log files and the different types of logs. We'll also look at the different types of events that occur. Next, we'll look at what's called Problem Reports and Solutions, which was in Vista. Following that, we'll look at the Action Center, which is in both Vista and Windows 7. And then Dr. Watson, which was a very basic diagnostic utility built into Windows XP. So first, let's look at the Windows 7 troubleshooting tool. It's located in the Control Panel under Troubleshooting, and it's an automated program that determines when something has gone wrong and fixes it while you sit there. This tool can do several different things. For instance, it can troubleshoot programs on your computer, hardware and sound problems, network and internet issues, for instance, if you're not able to get out to the internet, and other things such as security and appearance and personalization. Let's go take a look at it in Windows before moving on to the Device Manager. So if we're in here, let's go to Control Panel and click on Troubleshooting. Now, if we had a specific program, let's say with a program or even a hardware, problem, we could go there. Let's say we're having a problem with power usage. We could click Improve Power Usage, and this would troubleshoot power problems we're having. If we're having problems with the internet, this would allow us to automatically troubleshoot some of our network connection problems, or even our printer. So you can see how this can be sort of a first step when troubleshooting issues on the computer, and especially for technicians who work over the phone a lot, this can be a good first place to send your people who call you in at the help desk. So next is the Device Manager. It can detect if a device is malfunctioning, has the wrong driver, a conflict resource, or even if it's been disabled, in which case there will be an X through it, much like this. If you right-click on a device, you can enable and disable it, as we've seen. And you may need to do this if you have more than one of the same device in the system. In other words, if I have two graphics cards, one that is much more advanced, the other that is integrated, I'm probably going to want to go with the built-in graphics card. Now, the Event Viewer is somewhat different. Now, we've already looked at the Device Manager, so I'm not going to show you that again, because we've looked at that several times in the past. The Event Viewer, though, I will look at when we're finished with this. This is a tool for analyzing applications and the system and any errors that are going on or events that are occurring. It tells you a lot about the status of the operating system and the programs that are running on it. It notifies you of any informational events or audits, for instance, when someone logs into the computer or logs off or shuts down the computer, or if the computer shut down automatically. It'll also warn you about possible issues before they become errors. For instance, if it notices something that it thinks is not quite right, it'll tell you through what's called a warning, and we'll talk about those different types of events in a minute. It'll display errors as they occur on here. So if for instance, your application crashes, you could visit the Event Viewer, and it would tell you exactly why it crashed. Now, it's located in the Administrative Tools menu in the Start menus. That's Start, Accessories, Administrative Tools. And you can also get to it through the Manage console, the Management console. Finally, you can also get to it by typing Event Viewer at the Run or Search, at the Search window from the Start menu if you don't have Run. So let's go take a look at getting in there real quickly. So as we said, we can get there by going to Administrative Tools in the Control Panel. Right in here. If we go to Event Viewer, that'll take us right there. Alternatively, we can type Event VWR, which is the command line version. Or, if we don't mind seeing other stuff in there, we can right-click, go to Manage, and here we're in the Event Viewer along with all the other management items. So there are three types of logs in the Event Viewer where these events are logged. The first is the System log. This contains information, warnings, and errors about hardware, device drivers, system files, etc. All of these deal primarily with the operating system itself, as opposed to applications on the system. The next is the Applications log. As you can guess, this contains events about the programs that are built into or sometimes installed into Windows. So I've installed Word, Microsoft Word, and it crashes. The crash might be logged in the Event Viewer along with a reason why it crashed. Finally, there's the Security log, which will hold information gathered for auditing and security purposes, mostly when people log or log off the computer. Now, it's important to pay attention to all of these different categories because they will ask you a question on the exam that says something like a computer, someone logged into the computer, where would this be logged in the Event Viewer? An application crashes, where would that be logged? Someone is having an issue with the control panel opening, where would that display in the Event Viewer? And of course, that would be in the system because anything to do with the system. Okay, so it's important to familiarize yourselves with these different logs and to understand the difference between them. There are also 4 types of events that occur in each of those logs. The first is what's called information. Information, which is represented by an I in a circle, tells you basic information about a service starting or an application that ran successfully. Basically, it's just logging something that happened, but it's nothing bad that happened. The second is what's called a warning. A warning, which is indicated by a yellow exclamation point within a triangle, tells you that the installation didn't complete or a service timed out, or is a warning to something that might go wrong in the future. Again, this isn't necessarily an error, it's a warning as to something that could go wrong. Now, an error is literally something that is broken. This is indicated by a red exclamation point in a circle, and it means something failed or was corrupted or failed to start, etc. So this is talking about major issues as opposed to warnings, which sort of lets you know information about something that might not be working properly, but which isn't causing any crashes yet. Audit successes are only in the security log, and they're indicated by a gold-colored key. They track when a user attempts to log into the operating system, let's say, or when they log out. It audits them. So if you run a server, you're going to want to take a look at the Event Viewer, the security log in the security log in the Event Viewer quite often to see when people are logging off and logging on, especially if you're investigating a user who went on and did something or a virus was infected in the system. So we take a look here, go to the Windows logs. We see our major logs on the left. There's also forwarded events, which mean that they're forwarded from another computer, and the setup log, which is not in Windows XP, but was for when Windows was installed or updates are occurring. So we can see information on applications, and here's an error. So we can see down here, details on the error, and we could see, different types of views, category. There's even an event ID that we can search, etc. Now this is different from information, you can see, which is in just an I. And, I just saw a warning. Here's a warning, which was this, something didn't necessarily work out well. Nothing major happened, but it's a warning that something did not run correctly. And we could then take this information and search it on the internet. We can even copy it here for pasting onto a Google page or something. Notice in security, we're looking at very different types of things. Most of these are audits when people log on or when information is accessed. And then system, all these have to do specifically with the Windows operating system. We can also create custom views in the event viewer, by the way. For instance, things that happen at a specific time. Let's say I've been having troubles in the last hour, and I want to see all of my errors. I could create a view, let's say called last hour errors. And now that's always under custom views, and I can go and make sure there weren't any errors that just occurred. Problem Reports and Solution was a program in Windows Vista accessible from the control panel, which enabled you to check for solutions to hardware and software problems. It was sort of the precursor to the troubleshooting tool that's in Windows 7. It could be set to report problems and even check for solutions automatically. So if there was a problem, it would sort of notice it and then would try to fix it for you automatically. These solutions could also be checked for manually when the problem occurred via an error window that popped up. The Action Center is in Windows 7 and Windows Vista, and it automatically tells the user what needs to be attended to. For instance, in this one, it's telling me, oh, you don't have a backup set up, and you need to install a virus scan program. And so it'll continue to notify me about these until I actually take care of them. In Windows 7, the Problem Reports and Solutions that we saw in Windows Vista is built into this Action Center. So when an error occurs, the Action Center comes up and helps you fix it. You can get there by going to Start, Control Panel, System Security, and Action Center. And if we go in there right now, I'm going to close out of this, go to my Control Panel, and the first thing up is the Action Center. And here you can see I don't have virus program, and I can set up a backup. And opening any of these will give me other information. For instance, checking for updates, troubleshooting. In security, perhaps it'll tell me about my firewall, which is currently set on, the updates currently set on, etc. There also will appear an icon in the notification panel when the Action Center needs you to take action. Now, Dr. Watson was an old troubleshooting tool that was built into the Windows XP. It was accessed from the run prompt by typing Dr. Watson without any of the vowels, 32. And you can see it's a very, obviously not as evolved as our troubleshooting tools in Windows 7 and Vista. You can see it's going to save dump information, give us information via sound or visual when something goes wrong, any application errors, etc. Failures that are listed in Dr. Watson right here are often also listed in the application log of the event viewer, so that's a good place to start looking for your issue. Then you can look at the log path or the crash dump file, which would give you a little bit more information. All right, so now we've talked about the Windows 7 troubleshooting tool. We looked at the device manager, specifically for hardware. The event viewer, which included 3 different logs you want to pay attention to. Remember, that's the system, application, and the security log. We also looked at events, which included information, warnings, errors, and audits. Then we took a look at problem reports and solutions, which was in Vista, and later built into the Action Center, which will notify you of things you need to take care of, such as Windows Firewall, updates, running a virus scan program. And finally, Dr. Watson, which was a very basic troubleshooting tool that was built into Windows XP. So having talked about these troubleshooting tools, let's keep continuing in troubleshooting Windows.